who is going to be talking to us about counseling Black men. So if we could just give him a round of applause.
Wow, got quiet. All right, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for your attention. I want to thank the Mental Health Association of Delaware for inviting me. Their executive director Emily is here, so I want to acknowledge her, and I want to thank Jason for giving me the invite. So, yes, I'm Dr. Larence Kirby. If you ever see me, just call me Kirby. That's what I go by. So I'm Kirby, and just a little background on myself. I am a licensed professional counselor of mental health. I have a private practice called Key to Clarity down in Kent County. Although I see each and every one, I do specialize in seeing veterans because I retired from the United States Air Force, and I specialize in seeing folks of color, primarily Black males. So I'm going to be talking this morning about basically from my perspective. I didn't do research on this. I have, but this is not a research presentation. This is what I call from the heart presentation based upon what I've seen, what I've experienced, and I want to share these things with you because many of you in the behavioral health profession, you will come across Black males, and as a result, I want you to have some tools and have that ability to relate and just have a better feeling for what's going on. So I'm going to open up just to give you what I consider to be a gut punch. So checking out the Cambridge dictionaries, like something that shocks or hurts you very much, gut punch. Maybe when you were younger playing around, you accidentally got hit in the gut. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to give you a feel of what we as Black men, bros as I like to say, may feel when we hear and or experience certain things. So I have some names up here. So Tyler Nichols, January 7th of this year, this young man was killed by law enforcement. Now, unfortunately, this is becoming a common occurrence, but what was unique about this one is the LEs, as I call them, law enforcement, well, they were actually Black individuals. So that's like a gut punch. That's like, yo, what's really going on? The bros are supposed to be looking out for one another, but unfortunately, this didn't occur. You know, we become immune, okay, another Black person killed by police, but that's unfortunate, but it's still a gut punch for us. Emmett Till, back in the day, August 28th, 1955, for some of us who may remember that, that's a gut blow. This individual down in Mississippi, young man, 15 years old, if I'm not mistaken, accused of saying something to a Caucasian woman, a white woman. Obviously, in Mississippi, you may say, oh, that's a norm. And there's no norm like that. So what happens? He gets lynched, mutilated, taken out of this life just for doing that. That's a gut punch. And then what I speak of, because I'm somewhat of a historian, you may not recognize the third name, Octavius Catto. This individual grew up in Philadelphia, 1871. October 10th, he was shot point blank by a Caucasian man because he was helping Blacks in Philadelphia gain the right to vote. What I have is 152 years, but this has extended longer than that, and thousands upon thousands of Black men have been killed, and that is a gut punch. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, try to get your attention as to where I'm going to be speaking to. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to talk definitions, we're going to talk about barriers, issues, the interaction that I have with individuals, and then a way ahead. So strap up. All right, so I got to come from the professional perspective. From counseling, this is what I do, this is what I'm passionate about. I've wanted to be a counselor for a very long time. A lot of times when individuals are in high school, they may have that ability to transition to college, they may not know what they wanted to do. I wanted to know I actually wanted to be a clinical psychologist, didn't really pan out that way, so I said, being a counselor is me. I was the young cat who people would come up to me and talk, like single-digit midgets would come to me and just tell me their business. I'm like, why are you telling me this? I'm like, 7 to 8 years old. But I guess it was just my nature. So now, plus it up, people still come to me and tell me their things, but it's cool because I'm trying to help people get into a positive direction. So from a professional perspective, professional counseling, as you can see, it's all about the professional relationship. And I take that so very seriously. Individuals are trusting in me, coming to me and opening up to me, and I keep it professional. Like I said, it's a blessing to be able to be a part of that. In addition, counselors, we work with clients on strategies. I'm all about getting a game plan for the individuals who come to see me. We got to make it happen. I'm all about, hey, you're coming here for a reason, but the bottom line is we're going to get you to a positive place. I call my agency Key to Clarity. I want to help unlock your potential. So that's really what I'm all about. To find out what's going down, you and I are going to work together to make it happen. But that's on the professional point. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just having a conversation with you. So one of the drawbacks, at least from my thought process, is like counseling sometimes can have that negative stigma. And we always hear about stigma, but people are like, oh, I gotta see a counselor, going to counseling. So I'm talking about conversations. We're sitting down, I got a pretty cool office, got a nice little comfortable chair over there for you, nice comfortable chair for me, and we're having a conversation. Or if I want to change it up, I'll take you to my group room. It's like a nice little dining room table. Chairs aren't as comfortable, but we're still sitting there having a conversation, because that's the key thing. Because one of the things that I hear far too often is, I don't want to see a counselor. I don't like counseling. I don't, no. We're just having a conversation. We're going to talk. So I'm listening, as you can see, I have up there. I can gain ideas about what's going on with you. And once again, my goal is to help take it to the next level, get you in a better space. So once again, not about the counseling, it's about having the conversation. So that's what I do when the bros come and see me. We're having a conversation because my thought process is they may feel a little more comfortable with me based upon, as I like to say, if I haven't experienced it myself, I've witnessed it. So transparency aside, I grew up 25 miles from here, Southwest Philadelphia, SWP as I like to call it. Not the bestest neighborhood in the world, but it was just one of those places where I call home. I still visit and take it from there. So I like that experience. I was a teenage parent, still tight with my baby girl, who's an old baby girl, but that's my baby girl. But that's an experience I had there. I dropped out of college, had an opportunity to go to a 4-year institute. Didn't work out so well, but fortunately it wasn't because of academics, it was just because I was doing stupid stuff. So as a result, but I had that experience as well. And then the experiences of being a brother, let's see, how can I word this? Being chased by people who don't look like me, call a word that starts with an N. Wow, that's kind of unique. No, it's not, because it's happened on more than one occasion. So something about what I really learned is how to ride my bike very fast in those couple of instances, because Philly is kind of neighborhoodish, and certain times you go to certain neighborhoods and they still it's like poking the bear. Like, let's go to that neighborhood. We left in a hurry because we didn't look like those folks. And then unfortunately, same kind of situation with just being called certain terms from people passing by in the car. So just trying to give you that brother perspective that I've lived. So sometimes folks will come to me and say, I ain't gonna talk to nobody because they won't think I'm crazy. Well, I'm crazy too, but I just need to talk with you. So that's how I deal with that. So with the barriers, we hear it quite often. It's the mark of disgrace associated with something that's going down, a person, a quality, things of that nature. And it's negative and it's unfair. So the bottom line, we always try to figure out how to make folks have a more positive thought process of mental health, behavioral health. So we're trying to always work on that. It's just an ongoing. I mean, good, bad, or different, there's always gonna be stigma. So we just gotta work on it. So the self-stigma is those negative thoughts you have about yourself. I can't talk to this person. I don't need help. It's not gonna happen for me. And then of course the public stigma is where you assume everybody and his mom is looking at you thinking this, that, and the other. And unfortunately that can be a little more stronger than the self-stigma that you may have. So those are the two that I tend to deal with when folks are finally comfortable enough to come to me. It's, once again, it's something that they prevented themselves from coming, or they felt like the whole world was against them. So that's just the whole stigma barrier. The mistrust factor, as you can see, this is key. Forced sessions. A lot of bros come to me and they talk about maybe when they were younger, or how they had to go to counseling. I'll have folks who I was told to go to counseling. Sometimes when I do couple counseling, I don't really do a lot of that when we were talking at the table, but then it's like they were dragged to counseling. If you don't see this, then I'm like, hey, it's not supposed to be like that. My thought process is counseling, even though I don't really use the word conversation, but counseling should be something that you want to do because you recognize that there's an issue going on. But forced sessions, also I find this a lot. I've worked with juvenile populations. I used to work with low-level offenders, level 1s and 2s as they're officially called. Those are kids who smoke a little weed, get 2 bites, and shoplift. You know, like kind of minor, but we don't want them to grow up to be criminals. So that's what I used to do, is to stop it from that. But it was forced counseling then. So unfortunately, you may grow up, you had that forced counseling, and then now here you are as an adult, and you feel like, oh, this is something that's forced on me. Negative experiences, dare I say, one of the things that is somewhat said to me is, I talked to this counselor didn't look like me, well, I'll just put it out there. I had this counselor, she was an older white lady, I raised my voice, and she hid under the desk. Because, you know, basically it's like, I can't be myself. So negative experiences, counseling sucks, it's just not gonna work. Or a lack of knowledge about counseling, I break it down as stated, having a conversation. But some people think they're gonna like lay on my love seat. It's not, you know, we're not doing any Freud here. I don't get down like that. So I need you to sit down on the chair, get up, don't lay down. Not a nap thing. I don't do sleep deprivation. So it's just a matter of not knowing about counseling. So I make it a point of talking, saying, hey, we're going to talk, we're going to have these conversations, get you in a positive place. Now, the Black male culture basically emphasizes masculinity. It's all about what you are. It's basically what you're about. Like I said, I grew up in Southwest Philly, not the bestest neighborhood, kind of fun. Now, the drawback for me growing up in Southwest Philly was I was like a straight nerd. I like to go to the library. But single-digit midget curve didn't tell anybody to go to the library. I was fronting and doing all the crazy things, shoplifting, acting stupid, fighting, and everything that I had to do then. Because it was instilled in us that if you were from this neighborhood, this is what's going to happen. I'll take it one step further. Join the military. I mean, it's just a matter of being masculine. It's a matter of being stoic. It's a matter of taking care of business. But that to me is on steroids in the Black community, because you still tough it up, because things go down. I took that first slide I showed you. Oh yeah, they do this to us all the time. Oh, we got this glass ceiling. Oh, they calling us this word, that word. It's like, you gotta be tough. I've been assigned to, when I was in the military, I've been stationed in Alabama and Mississippi. And I will tell you, this was like 10 years ago, and I thought I was still in the 1950s. And I'm just speaking from a brother perspective, it was like you had to be tough down there just because of how the actions are. So like I said, MS, Mississippi, and AL, Alabama. I'm so glad to be back up north. I'll just leave it at that. So as a result, you don't want to show any weaknesses as a bro, because that's not the move. Also, I'm gonna be a little sexist here. Sometimes when you're showing that masculinity, maybe if you're in a heterosexual relationship, the woman that you're with, she needs you to be strong. She's like, nah, you ain't gonna be soft, bro. And then you gotta do certain things in order to maintain that masculinity. It's just an expectation. Oh, wow, you going into this situation, you're not handling your business. You're not being a man. You're not being a Black man. You're gonna let so-and-so talk to you like that? It goes on and on. So as bros come to me, a lot of times they're talking to me because of these things that are internalized, because of the expectations of not only society as a whole, but of Black society for them to be strong and stoic. So they ignore these problems and sometimes come as a last resort. Now, bros come to me because they want to be better people. That's the bottom line. That's how I see it. They want to be better. Better spouse, better son, better father, a better me. So I really appreciate the fact that they open up and I get to know these things. I was telling someone, sometimes you see these stereotypical bros or how they appear, and you just don't think that someone who looks like that has those types of emotions. I've had big bros, 6'3", 230, reaching for the tissue box because they're able to get those emotions out. And I take that as a sense of pride that they trust me. It is not easy opening up. It doesn't matter what you look like or who you look like. It is not easy opening up when you have deeply embedded negativity inside of you and you just want to talk to someone and you've tried to talk, but unfortunately it wasn't effective. So it's truly a blessing that I'm able to reach individuals like that. And I just think it's, once again, a blessing, the coolest thing in the world, so I can help them become what they want to become. So what's that looking like? What are the issues that are impacting? Number one issue that I deal with, quite honestly, are relationships. They're negative, they're strained, or they are non-existent. I can't tell you the amount of folks who unfortunately need assistance with rekindling that relationship, with understanding, getting a better understanding. Now the cool thing is they acknowledge that and they want the assistance, but it's like sometimes they come to me as a term, a last resort. Maybe they haven't, I remember this one situation, which was odd to me, but I guess it's the way they lived. I had a Zoom set with a couple, which is typical, and it was two different, they both logged on, so I was under the impression somebody was at work or somebody, and they hit me saying, like, we've been apart for 5 years. And I'm like, okay, 5 years apart? Yeah, I live in Delaware, and she was in Connecticut. I'm like, 5 years to come and talk about your life event? I was just a little curious about that one. So you never want it to be a last resort. That was my whole point to that, because sometimes you're not able to necessarily rekindle if it's been that long. So those negative, strained, and non-existent relationships are first and foremost as far as reasons that folks come to me. My thought process on that is to try to nip that in the bud early. If you're having those relationship issues and you're coming from individual counseling, I need the bros to come to me a little earlier so that we can work on it to make sure we can try to get to a positive place. What I note with the significant other and family member, I call it a relationship desert, because it's just all dry. There's really nothing there. In addition, I talk with a lot of my clients referencing life events. Unfortunately, death, and it's just estrangement from folks. But that death piece is deep, because what I find with the bros who come to me, they're in a position where they have to keep that inside. They have to keep the mourning inside. Individuals losing family members, losing friends, unfortunately, oftentimes as a result of violence. That's one thing that a lot of folks may not understand. I, unfortunately, have lost friends, peers to gun violence. Being in the military, I've been in combat situations. I've lost individuals as a result of that. It is not easy because, once again, you're put in that position saying that you have to be strong. I know when my boy was killed in Southwest Philly, it wasn't a point of us sitting there mourning in the traditional sense. It was like, yo, he got off, and we just had to keep on going on with our day, our life. And it's like, it's a weird dynamic. We're going to the funeral, in my opinion, fronting, because ain't nobody there crying. We just like, my man got blown away, blah, blah, blah. But we weren't doing it in a traditional sense, and that's unfortunate. So a lot of the bros will come to me because they've experienced maybe not a violent death, but just death in general, where they have to be stoic. Oftentimes we go to the funerals, it can be stereotypical where, once again, stereotypical, maybe the females are crying, but then you have the bros just sucking it up. And that's not a good thing. So once again, death is unfortunately one of the topics that gets discussed a lot when folks come to me. Incarceration, individuals transitioning out. Got to reduce that recidivism, but are you going to judge as a counselor because somebody told you that they just finished doing a 20-year bid? I'm not sitting there judging anybody. I know people who've been locked up. I know people who've been in the pen. In my old job, I used to visit the Bond prison down in Smyrna. I used to go inside SCI, which is down in Sussex, to talk to incarcerated veterans. That was an old job that I had. For me, my boys who have been locked up, unfortunately, good, bad, or different, I don't want to say it's a normal part of life for me, but I'm saying I'm not shocked. But what happens is they come to me and they're like, I told my counselor about that, and they were scared of me, or they thought I was going to do something, or they thought I was going to rob. If we are stereotyping the individuals who did their time, and then we're going to increase their ability to go back in, because we're not giving them the structure, we're not giving them the love, we're not giving them what they need to be productive members of society. I got to look at people because you're a person, and people will say, oh yeah, whatever. But I'll throw this out there. One of the cool things about me being in the military was that I've lived in 3 Asian countries. I've lived in 2 European countries. I do have a worldwide perspective. When I see an Asian individual, I'm not thinking store owner, corner store owner. I'm thinking about people that used to be my neighbor. Because even when I was stationed overseas, I made it a point of living in the community. I didn't live in the military installation. So yeah, maybe my viewpoint's more global, but I say that because my expectation is when we as a society sees a black man, we need to see that individual as a person. One of the funniest things for me that always happens is like, if I show up somewhere, because I never say I'm Dr. Kirby, I'm like, I'm just Kirby, right? So I always roll up, and I got dressed up because I just wanted to rock my bow tie today, but usually I'm rocking my Gerald t-shirt from Hey Arnold, rocking my jeans, and then I have my dress. I was like, let me rock the bow tie. But so I come across as just a typical older bro. And then people are like, oh yeah, we got this Dr. Kirby coming. I remember I showed up at an event, no lie, it was an event. And they're like, we're gonna have this guest speaker, Dr. Kirby. And I just rolled up in there and I just sat down. And ain't nobody say nothing to me. I mean, I just sat down. And then I overheard the cat say, oh, Dr. Kirby didn't show up. He missed our thing. And I was like, I'm Dr. Kirby. And of course, he didn't look like me. The dude was shocked. Like, oh, we thought you were the janitor. But anyway, I digress. But I just say all that to say, we can't assume that bros are any certain way, much like we can't assume anybody else. So let me get back on track. So anyway, as a result, substance misuse, being incarcerated, other types of things, life events, they're talking to me, which is cool, because I want to ensure that the internal scars, they may be there. I understand that. We want to try to get some healing going on, neosporin type scenario. All right, so the social injustice, I did kick off with that, but I do want to emphasize how brothers, regardless of social status, continue to face overt and covert racism, and I have the entities. The one thing that I've noted, and you can have your viewpoint on it, and like I said, I told you about that Alabama and Mississippi thing. Back in the day, like 3 years ago, stuff was like kind of cool, covert. So like, cats didn't do you because you was a bro or whatever your ethnicity was, and it was cool. They kept it inside. Then all of a sudden, it just got kind of cool to be able to break it out and be overt. That's really something that I've noticed. So bros are coming to me saying like, yo man, I would be at work, everything was cool, but now all of a sudden people are saying negative things to me. And that's bothersome to me. It's like, why had the pendulum swung to where now it's cool to disrespect people because of what they look like, what they sound like, and what their preferences are. But of course, I'm keeping this on the low perspective. So then they are in this hostile situation because all of a sudden it's cool for them or cool for others to be totally disrespectful to them. So this whole suddenly overt thing is real bothersome. And this is what happens through the conversations. I do have the law enforcement. I've been stopped so many times. I don't even think twice about it, and that's unfortunate, but it's just one of those things. Another thing that is totally humorous to me, and it still happens. Now, when I was a young boy, I was cool with the Caucasian older lady crossing the street or clutching her purse. I was young. I mean, yeah, that's all good. Now, I wasn't robbing nobody because I was in a good place. But not the old head me. I swear, man. Like, why am I getting followed in the store? Or why is somebody clutching their purse? I'm making a little bit of change now. I ain't gonna rob nobody, but I'm putting it out there. This is what the bros go through. So if an old head like me experiences that, the younger folks, younger brothers that I deal with, this is a daily occurrence. And it's just annoying, but it's stressful. It wears at your psyche. And these are the types of conversations that I have. It's like, yo, everybody's like typecasting me, stereotyping, the whole nine. Basically for the law enforcement, issues at work, and like society in general. Social injustice. Now, I'm gonna throw this story out here just to get you thinking. I don't know if this is social injustice. This is just weird. So I told you I lived in Alabama, I lived in Montgomery. There is a high school called Robert E. Lee High. All right, duh, we know who dude is, right? Okay, back in the 50s, okay, that was probably in a white neighborhood. Okay, 10 years ago, it ain't no more. So why am I seeing all of these African-American black children wearing Robert E. Lee high school shirts, Robert E. Lee jackets, the whole nine? Think about that. Now, I was like, I need to go to the high school and tell these cats who Robert E. Lee is. I didn't think you had to be a historian to know that Robert E. Lee, Confederate general. I'm not saying, I don't care about the statue. I just have an issue with black children wearing Robert E. Lee gear and being proud of it. And that's what I'm saying. We would see them in the mall. Oh, I forgot, my bus. They cleaned up a little. They just call themselves the rebels. Oh, that's gonna help. Oh, and their school colors are gray and red. So like I said, I just want to throw that out there. If you don't even have that history living in a certain area, then I can only imagine talking to the bros down in Alabama. But of course, I'm back in DE. But yeah, Robert E. Lee High School, go ahead and Google it, Montgomery, Alabama. Black neighborhood, rocking the Robert E. Lee. So basically, we're dealing with the racial based inequities, and basically now it's just resulting in so much more negativity. And this is what I'm continuing to talk to the bros about when they come to speak with me. So it's the employment piece, it's criminal justice. These are things that, unfortunately, I'm just saying the terms, and you already can sense the inequities, the unfairness, economic resources, education. I mean, I really, really dislike the fact that black males have the lower graduation rates. Now, when I talk to my younger bros, that's teenagers, preteens, I'm like goal oriented, and unfortunately, every time I would ask, like, I was saying between 7 to 12 years old, what's your goal? What do you want to be? Unfortunately, from stereotypical reasons, it's like being an athlete, or some are even brave enough to tell me they want to get into the life, which is slinging and all that. And I'm like, come on, man, really? But unfortunately, sometimes we're role models. Now, we can go down this segue of morals and family values, the whole nine. I got that. But even cats with two-parent families, if they're around the negative influences, then they still want to be slingers, or they think they can be an NBA player. Like, dude, you 4'8". But the bottom line is, you got to set the goals. So one of my key things with young people is setting legitimate goals with them. And I know that college is not for everyone. I don't push the college thing, but there's so many positive certifications out there. So I just give you avenues. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? I remember one young man was talking about he wanted to make his own sweatshirt, but he wanted to get into fashion. So we went down that path. It's a matter of identifying for me what the bros need, what the bros want, based upon what they tell me. I'm not making them do anything, but generally speaking, once we have that conversation, I can get a better feel. So just talking about the social injustice there. So, issues we face, as you can see, all right, this is on our own. Black on black crime, I've been having conversations about this like forever. It's like, it is crazy. I go back, see my mom's in Southwest, I'm like, yo, I gotta get me Pennsylvania license plates or something, because they see the double tag. It's like, I know I can get off. And that's like an uncomfortable feeling. But the bad thing is, I'm used to it. But I'm saying, black on black crimes. And we're like so totally immune to it. So bros will come talking to me about how they're, once again, the boys have been off, or negative things that happen as a result of being black. Not wanting better. This is very bothersome to me as well. Cats think just because they have always been this way or they've always lived in this area that it's just got to be like that. And I'm like, yo, man, have you ever thought about breaking out of the cycle? I see this so often with Black men. It's because they've just always been that way. That's just my pet peeve, because it's always been that way. Crabs in the barrel, though, that ain't no joke. Either holding us down ourselves or pulling us down. So you go to somebody's graduation, you should be proud they made it out of, like, high school was cool. And then you got Uncle Leroy, I ain't graduated high school. Ain't no why I had to get a job. What you want to do with your, why you go to high school? I'm like, bro, you know, you're dealing with, these are things they're telling me about. It's like, I'm trying to make it in this life. I'm trying to do the quote unquote positive thing, graduate, get a legitimate job, and then my whole family, people that are supposed to be showing me support, are showing me hate. So that's significant. And then this one, I have done research on this. This is intriguing because I had a client that was always hitting me with like, yo, man, I try to talk to my moms about coming to the counseling. And she said, better pray with it. And I'm not knocking prayer, don't knock me wrong. But if you don't have prayer without a plan, then unfortunately it ain't happening. Because you got to have a plan. You got to be able to focus on what the prayer can take you to. And that's the issue. So I remember this one client was like, yeah, I'm having post-traumatic stress. He was a veteran, military veteran. And nobody advised him, nobody encouraged him to go seek counseling. They would just say, pray, as opposed to pray and then go see a counselor, or then pray and utilize some resources. So I really have to clarify this one. I'm all about prayer, but I'm also, prayer will open my eyes to see what opportunities are out there, or prayer will open my eyes to become a better person, or prayer will open my eyes to make it happen. But I ain't just gonna get on my knees and pray and then still be whining about my situation. You gotta make it happen. So I'm just putting it out there like that. Then I'm not setting goals. I kind of alluded to that a little earlier. So I'm all about goal setting, even for my adult bros. I'm like, yo, man, you've been kind of doing that forever today. You ain't happy with it. So let's like work on a goal plan or a decent plan. And never acknowledging our achievements. This is something that is very, very significant to me as well, because we go through life doing things. Bros are like going here, going there, but you gotta take time to dap yourself up. You gotta take time to say, yo, man, I made this happen. So whether it's that degree, whether you got the raise at work, whether you freaking woke up in the morning, you got to, in my opinion, say like, yo, this is an achievement. I'm gonna like praise it up and I'm gonna say acknowledge it, because that's just what we do. We go through life and all of a sudden you 80 years old with regret versus like, 10, 20, whatever, and still saying, yo, I'm doing this. So that's something that I focus on a lot. In addition, seeking mentors. If you want to be something, to be somebody or go somewhere or something, there's somebody who has already went down that path, and it's just a matter of you reaching out to them so that you can be positive. And I say that to the bros because there are a lot of brothers doing positive things. Now, I'm not saying you can't have another mentor, but hey, I think I'm talking about brothers doing my speech here. So that's the key thing. It's just a matter of getting those folks that may look like you are doing positive things. One thing that I do, I speak to undergrads in various either social work or counseling programs, and they reach out to me because I can give it to them and talk to them about the opportunities within the behavioral health field. So it's just a matter of getting a mentor, and then, basically, you got to be a better brother. So when you're coming to me, we're going to work on how can you be better based upon what you're telling me and what your need is. But at the end of the day, we all want to be better. So, wow, never really thought about it like that. That's one of those comments that I get a lot when I'm having these conversations. So during the session, I'm a CBTer. It's all about the cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm all about your thoughts. Why are you thinking that way? Why are you acting this way? But that's my thing. So what made you think about that? A lot of it's based on things that went down back in the day, and they're focused on how it is now. So I'm always trying to go way back to when you told me about that moment and how that makes you feel. Prime example, I get a lot of, my pop wasn't there for me, or I was mistreated back in the day when I was a single-digit midget, but you're still thinking about that. You're still holding on to that. You're 43 years old, unfortunately thinking about an incident that went down when you were 8. So I'm trying to go back there, get a feel for what was going on at that time, and then trying to get them to have an appreciation for having gone through that, and then we kind of work it that way. So, like I said, I'm CBTer. I'm constantly asking about thoughts. I'm constantly getting comments from folks because through open-ended questions or through just having a conversation, usually, this is me, usually they'll say what they want and or which direction they want to go. So then I utilize that and then we go there together. So we got to work towards this as a plan thing. It's not a matter of me saying, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. It's a matter of me working with the information that you've given me. Then, for me, this is the best part. It's like freedom of speech when you get up in there. Because basically, it's two bros chopping it up. We having fun, we having conversations. Usually, no doubt, the first session, we have a conversation, bro, get a little animated, get a little hype, you know, might let some words slip out. And the first thing they want to do is apologize. I'm like, nah, man, I appreciate the fact that you feel that comfortable. So you want to curse like a sailor? Let it go. You want to throw the N-word? You know, that's, you know, on the outside, that could be whatever. When it's me and them, if they feel comfortable rocking it like that, that's what's up. Because I can get with it too. And then once again, it's just feeling comfortable talking about incidents. Most thing I see, which is kind of, I mean, to me, I guess maybe obviously who I am, it's like the volume of conversation. Apparently, talking loud in certain instances of certain populations brings fear. So when the bros start getting hyped and animated, you're like, yo, come down. I'm like, yo, bring it. What? She said, what? Like, yo. But, oh, I digress. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. That's how we get it in. And then they're like feeling good. I'm feeling good because I can be myself. And then, but the key thing is we're able to get to the bottom line. And I'll be like, she really did that, kid? But so that's what it's about, the value. And then quality of life is my key thing. I'm all about asking, inquiring, yo, how's that make you feel? Are you really satisfied in the relationship, in the job, in the situation? And if they're like hemming and hawing, I'm like kind of thinking that's a no. So I'm always working on that quality of life. I gotta get a feel for how you believe you can get into a positive quality of life so you can be satisfied, so you can unlock that potential. So the bros got to be satisfied with themselves, got to be satisfied with their lives so that they can move on and do positive things in society. So the way ahead for yours truly, emphasizing the advantages of counseling, since I have to use that word, or just talking, that's what I like. Talking with a counselor. So it's like, yo, you feeling some kind of way? I think you should talk to someone. It ain't a mandate. It ain't you better go and all those types of things. It's just a matter of, no, let's talk it out. Find somebody, third party. They're not in the family. They're not your pastor. They somebody that don't know what's going down. Encourage people of color, especially bros, to pursue behavioral health careers. There's a shortage of us. They call me a unicorn. There's one of me, 2 cats down in Kent County. I refer a lot of people to a few cats in Newcastle County. In typical Delaware, I think it's like crickets in Sussex County. So if you want to bro in Sussex, yeah, better drive more. But you got to encourage us to get it in. And finally, this is important. Don't just see anybody. Find a counselor who can help. Oh man, my counselor wouldn't talk to me. Oh, my counselor, I don't understand. I said this and they said that. If your counselor doesn't offer you an opportunity to do an intake, which is a conversation, because that's what I do. I'm like, yo, I'd like to see you, Dr. Kirby. Hey, let's have a call, 10 minutes. Just gotta find out what your issue is. So we're having a conversation, they're vibing me. Just like I talk now, this is how I talk. So if you can't clown with me, it ain't gonna happen. And if you got some issues I can't deal with, it ain't gonna happen. I'm the referral king. I ain't gonna get it too deep. I'm just putting that out there to you now. Like, you know, Dr. Kirby, in my past life, yeah, nah, bro. I think I want to refer you. So, to me, don't just see anybody. You got to have a vibe with your counselor, because if you don't get along with that person, you might as well be at the crib with the person you ain't liking anyway. So, you got to have that vibe. Okay, so I always like to have quotes. So, success as a therapist is not found in doing something for the client, but rather being something for the client. So, for me, I'm a friend to an extent. I'm a friend you can't call unless it's that 50 minutes. Maybe it's the long term. I'm the cat you can talk to for 80 minutes, maybe 60, depending upon how we go on. And then, you know, I'm just happy that we're having a good time and that I'm able to help you out. So that's a cool quote. And basically, this is yours truly. This is how you get a hold of the kid. Please note, I am a part-time therapist. I do have a day job. So, you know, if I can get you in, I can get you in. If not, we had that 5-minute intake because people be telling me stuff during that time anyway. So I might be able to help you in 5 minutes. So, open up for questions. Oh, yes.
What do you think can be done within the community, the mental health community, to lessen the mistrust within the mental health world?
Okay, so the question was about mistrust as being one of the barriers. What can be done to possibly reduce mistrust? Quite honestly, the mistrust to me may stem from what I spoke of being forced. And I don't know that you can mitigate the mistrust because it's going to depend on your maybe initial interaction with the counselor. And that's key. A lot of times, it's to me like in elementary school when you're kind of labeled as the bad kid or ADHD kid, or you just put in a different population, then you tend not to trust education. So with the whole counseling thing, at least what I've seen with the mistrust, is usually a negative initial engagement with the counselor. And you really, gotta be honest, there's nothing that can be done unless the secondary person is able to have that communication to identify. Because basically, I'll hear that I saw so-and-so counselor, this wasn't working, and then I'm trying to unpack that. I'm actually trying to make sure that, and this is all of my clients, trying to make sure that they understand counseling should be a positive thing. And I think the only other answer is to try to continue to focus on it being a positive, but that's where it gets subjective. I don't know, like here and there, but it gets subjective because counselors are humans. And unfortunately, you're going to have that human that you don't get along with. Here's my analogy. We all go to Wawa, right? And Wawa, the one time where everybody's cool, like people open the door for you, and like, you know, people like polite. But every so often in the Wawa, you get that cat that don't open the door for you. You know, you expect, hey, get the Wawa. You get that cat to just walk out. That's what it's like. There's going to always be that population of individuals that, you know, unfortunately, you can't do anything about. So there's really no cookie cutter answer for that.
Person. Yes.
So on a couple slides ago, you said like to encourage Black men or people of color to get into this field. There's a thing though. You already talked about the barriers such as like previous incarceration, substance abuse issues, and so as somebody who is a peer, who is like on track to get my master's in psychology, right? What is your advice, not so much on my end, but what can be done on the clinical side to break that stigma? Because it is not that simple for somebody who's in a peer position to become clinical.
Wow, I will try to surmise. Basically, young lady wants to know how you can encourage individuals who are peers and in the field to go on.
No.
Okay.
How I'm saying on the clinical side of it, because there's a huge stigma and we're not accepted. Like, it's okay if we're peers, right? But like, once I get my degree and once I become a licensed professional, we are not accepted as by and large. I'm not saying,
You mean accepted because of your past quote-unquote transgressions.
So how do you like mitigate that or still encourage people who have that background, the lack of resources, the lack of education and stuff, to come and then be on the clinical side of it? Because there's a huge stigma and we're not accepted.
So, it's basically, if you had past negative transgressions and you try to get into the field, how do the powers to be there select you to be in this field, how are they going to help you? My question, or my response to that is to, first off, let them know that what you've gone through can be advantageous. Just like I spoke to me relating to folks that look like me and or the veteran population, you have your certified alcohol and drug counselors who have been previously substance misuse. They can sit out there and say like, hey, because of my past experiences, I can be an asset for you. Another thing is you may be getting, just think about one certain organization. There are so many counseling universities, colleges who are looking for folks who don't fit the norm, especially, in my opinion, nowadays, good, bad, or different, there's a thought process of, I hate to say diversity, but they are looking for out-of-the-box type individuals because they realize that folks who are not the typical norm are looking to have assistance. And so I would just say, take a look for other opportunities if the career path or the college path that you're going to, you feel as if those individuals may not be accepting. In addition, I'll put this out there, there are, I'll say HBCU, but colleges of color that also appeal to the non-traditional. In addition, I know, I was just at the conference, the American Counseling Association has a big onus on counselors who, once again, don't fit the norm. So I think it's a matter of doing the research to find a program that will accept you for you. And quite frankly, if you feel as if there are barriers with the program that you're going towards, you put them to the side. Because there's no sense in sucking it up just because of that program, because there are so many programs that can assist you with reaching your goal of being a behavioral health professional. Did that help? Yes, ma'am.
I liked your presentation and thank you for addressing the community that I feel gets overlooked, the male population with African American. But everything you presented in that slide I can relate to as an African American woman. So who do you refer the African American women to if you're focused on just one population of men?
She said, like, yo, bro, you only see them bros, so where do you send the sisters?
Yeah.
I see everybody. My presentation is on bros, man. I got sisters who come to see me, but I also I do refer, because I'm gonna be honest, there are sometimes issues where I can get a vibe from my intake, and I basically have a bunch of sisters. I always do 3, I work in 3s. So I always have 3 names of sisters that I know in Kent County when I get a vibe that is something that I'm not comfortable with. But just want to clear the miscommunication. I see everybody.
There's some stuff that black men can't relate to, only another black sister can. So I think, unfortunately.
That's why I refer. But no, I'm clowning. But no, I do refer in those instances, and like I said, that's why the initial intake or the initial communication is so very important, because all behavioral health professionals should stay in their lane. I mean, good, bad, or different. You gotta stay in your lane, because there's just certain things that go down that you're not comfortable, but this is not the time to experiment. You're dealing with someone's life. So I take that very seriously. So just to answer your question, I refer.
Yes. I'm Kirby.
Mistrust? they were referring to the mistrust. The young lady was speaking of mistrust from the black perspective. She responded of the opposite piece of being one of the blacks where you go to forums like this where it was primarily Caucasians, of course being a minority, double the minority because you're a professional minority, and you're in a group of individuals who don't understand minorities. So she made a recommendation that you should befriend and get to know other minorities, people of color. In addition, I would throw out cultural awareness. And then Ms. Paula kicked it out and said, like, Tuskegee experiment, which was back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, where unfortunately black males were injected with syphilis but their progress of the disease was not listed, and then they just checked them out until they were 70, 80 years old or died from it in the study. So, good information. Did that help?
More recently, in the prison system, they're experimenting with incarceration. So there's mistrust.
And there's still mistrust because they're incarcerated. Help me, brother out.
So my question to you, Doctor, yes it is. Is it okay for men to cry and black men to cry? And if so,
Okay, I was asked if it's okay for black men to cry. I would say yes, but I will say also, I mean, you have to, so I gave the example about being at the funeral, I gave the example about bros in the office. Good, bad, or different, if you still have that stoicism, if you still have that image that you need to present, and I would just, from a couple perspective in front of your woman, that's going to be something that will be worked upon in the home. It's a matter of comfort, because this is me just totally from the heart. I think the whole crying piece really still gets it's frowned upon by women. And since we're talking about bros, by black women. Black women, I'm talking stereotypical heterosexual black relationship, sisters don't want to do the cries. In my opinion, this is Kirby. And that's unfortunately the thing. Now, if you have that relationship where your man is comfortable crying, or it's a situation, death, any type of stressful situation, and there's comfort there, that's based upon the relationship. But when is it okay to cry? I mean, that's a real wide context there.
well, yeah, I'm just saying that, what's your definition of strong black man or man in general?
My definition of strong black man is somebody who's respectful, takes care of their family, just basically a strong human. I'm totally going back. I know I'm talking about bros, but to me, it's just a matter of being dare I say, a good person. Strong black man is a cat that takes care of business. Business to me is family. You believe in God. That's really what I deal with. I'm not talking the stereotypical. I know I talked of that, but that to me is not a strong black man. Just because you can get your tail whipped, or just because you lifting weights, that's corny. To me, it's all about I go home, see my baby girl, my youngest daughter, my wife, love them up, we go out, we hang out, we do things. That's a strong black man, a dude who's a responsibility. I'll take it one step further. I'm totally transparent. I told y'all I left college. I was good to go. I came from a 2-parent home. They said, yo, kid, you going to college? Yeah, I'm going to college. I was on the dean's list every time. Ended up, my girlfriend got pregnant. I had to make a decision. I was 6 hours away from the crib. I was like, you what? Obviously, like all 18 or 19-year-olds do. I opted, and this is my strong black man thing, to leave college, join the military, and be a part of my baby girl's life. That to me is an example of strong black man. But I had an opportunity to be like, unfortunately some bros do. It's like, yo, you pregnant? Sucks to be you. But I gave up. In my opinion, was an opportunity. That also has driven me to be educated and to educate others not to make the mistakes that I've made. So that's just an example of a strong black teenager, but that ain't got nothing to do with strength. It ain't got nothing to do with how I fronted. It's a rational decision that I made that ended up being the best decision of my life. Because, like I said, me and my baby girl are tighter and tighter. Does that help?
Yeah.
Why am I sharing this?
Yes, it did. I guess that's wondering, part of that strength, I think that for a man to be able to emote, when he feels like he needs to use his strength, because he's creative,
she's just saying that man should be able to emote when he can. I'm just going to say I believe it has a lot to do with the relationship that the person's in. I mean, with all due respect, if I'm at the crib by myself crying, that don't make me strong. But I think what you're talking about is from a relationship perspective. So if you're, again, I'm talking in generality, heterosexual black relationship. If my girl got laid off or we have some financial issues, and I mean like very, then yeah, I can see emotion as opposed to you better get a job, girl. You know, that's why we got separate accounts. But you know, I'm just saying, I clown a lot.
So this may be similar to other questions that have already been asked, but recently I've been doing students about CPT actually possible to marginalize community, and so I was just wondering where you think on that in terms of in those spaces, talking about the spaces CPT, but also recognizing the societal and systemic oppression and injustices that can limit what individual behaviors changes can fix. If that makes sense, like how can
She expressed that CBT has been found to possibly be negative to marginalized populations. So she was wondering how I can utilize CBT with my, I said primarily, but my populations. What I say is, you never go deep into a certain theory. Even though I talk CBT, that's just my basis of really getting a feel for what the thoughts are and what the behaviors are now. So for me just using that snippet, I can utilize it for any population, marginalized or otherwise, because actually I need to know what your thoughts are if you're in a marginalized situation and what your thoughts are. You know, that's the basic thing of me when I'm talking with someone who doesn't want to, because my mom was Section 8, my grandma was Section 8, and I need to figure out how come you're thinking like that, or why you're not going a certain way. So I still can utilize my CBT. CBT, I'll put it out there. It might have been negative to marginalized populations by people that didn't look like them or people that didn't understand them. No disrespect, I know where you're coming from, and I'm cocky with that one, because I don't live a crazy life. So any marginalized piece, running around the projects for me is like no big deal. But if you have not been in that world, you don't understand it, you've only read about it, it can be intimidating. Does that help? You just use snippets of it. You don't just jump into a theory. Just because you practice a theory doesn't mean that's all you do. You just take snippets and you take what can be best used for your population. All right, cool. Appreciate y'all's time.
Alright, that was another great presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Kirby. So we're just going to take a really short few moments just to stretch and everything, and then we're going to be joined by Dr. Kirby and our panel. We're going to reconvene. So just give us a few seconds just to stretch, get everything together.